Should we do Tess of the Road next? I'm on like a reviewing roll and I want to talk about this one. Let's talk Tess of the Road, because this book, guys, this book. Tess of the Road is currently up for a couple of different awards. I think it's up for the Andre Norton Award. I think it's up for the Lodestar, which I'm super excited about. But this is a YA book that, yes, is magic, but was also just so much more than just like a story of a girl with a dragon hanging around. Like, oh, it is well worth the read. I'm gonna start there and say it. TLDR, read Tess of the Road. I read part of it through audiobook. I switched back and forth between formats. And if you are not good at paying attention to actual physical books, if you're looking for something to read when you are commuting or something like that, this is a fantastic book. I don't even really quite know where to start with this. Tess of the Road is the story of a young girl. She's 16, 17-ish, and she is struggling after having made a pretty large mistake for someone at the time that she's living in. She lives in essentially like a Regency era-ish kind of setting. And she has, you know, at 14, she becomes pregnant, which is like a huge deal, right? And so she's living with the aftermath of that, and that she has a sister who's her twin, who is like the perfect daughter. Her family is really kind of holding everything against her. She has an older sister who's half dragon, and so like that sister has so many exceptions to like what is considered normal and what she can do and the freedoms she has, that Tess just feels very alone and very angry, and in a lot of ways rightfully so. It's just, it's such a, in some ways it is so painful in that it feels so realistic. Hi. See, Kitty approves. Kitty approves. So the story starts off with Tess's sister getting married. Her twin sister, who's technically the younger sister, but no one really knows that. Tess technically should be married first, but because of what is going on and her kind of, her untoward past, they have decided to pass off the younger twin as the older twin. And so Tess is like, finally, I have worked so hard to give my sister everything she needs to get married, to make like the best marriage possible. This will redeem me. But it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. And Tess has like a kind of a meltdown at her sister's wedding as a result, which is kind of understandable, but also really shitty. And afterwards, they're gonna send her to a convent. There's like nothing else they can do with her. Like, Tess refuses to just go with what her family is telling her, and so Tess runs away. She decides, nope, convent life isn't for me. I just want to be anywhere but here. And it follows her on the road as she meets up with one of her childhood friends, who is kind of like a lesser form of dragon. And they are searching for what's called the World Serpent. And the World Serpent has all of the power to create and destroy and all of those kind of good, fun things. Tess is alone on the road for the most part. She's sorting through her own life choices in this kind of emotional, self-reflective journey. Tess is incredibly smart, and kind of, for me, so much of the story rang of like the Lady Trent stories by Marie Brennan, but without a lot of the like complicated adulty things, with very different complicated young adulty things. A lot of this story is the story of shame, a story of frustration and anger, a story of really serious depression and anxiety. And the whole time we were watching this young woman deal with that while being made to feel like all of those things are terrible and also her faults. And to some extent, some of them are. But some of them are the result of being a naive kid. as Tess works through these throughout her journey on the road, we see her grow, we see her learn to find healthy coping mechanisms. We see her come to grips with a lot of trauma that has happened in her life. Like, this is not a book for the weak-willed. There are moments in this book that will make you sob if you are like me and prone to crying. But there are also fantastically fun, energetic, brave moments where you feel so proud of Tess for the things that she's doing and for not giving up and for being the kind of person that she wants to be instead of the kind of person that she has been telling herself that she is. For instance, there are a couple of moments where Tess helps an old man who has been alone on the road, who's very clearly like homeless and has dementia. And watching her kind of take that man and take on the responsibility of caring for him and getting him to safe harbor and getting him into the hands of people who will take care of him, it shows a lot of her personal growth. And I found that, especially like that, storylines like that for her to be very poignant. There's a really fun, engaging, I don't want to call it a subplot, but an element to the story where Tess is so smart and she wants to kind of be this naturalist. I don't know that she has the words to say that, but she is engaging in these talks of what it means to be a valid species, to be cognizant, to be able to communicate. What do we deem as a valid form of humanity? How do we approach discovery of new naturalistic phenomenon in an ethical way? It is such a fun, engaging kind of, I don't even know if it's fair to call it like a background for the rest of the story because it is so entwined with the rest of her actually dealing with stuff. It's really, really interesting. She's so smart and so bright and at the same time so having such a hard time with who she is, that the contrast between watching her be kind of almost accidentally competent at sometimes and so self-doubting is, I don't know, there's just a truth in that. Her whole story is a big fuck you to the patriarchy, and I love that. I love that it does it on so many levels. I love that it's not just about sex and sexuality. I love that it's about the way you perceive yourself and your self-esteem. I love that it's about kind of the way that we attribute people's intelligence to them and the way that we refuse to acknowledge intelligence in certain groups of people. And I love that she's challenged to see other people's struggles, right? Like, there's a lot of Tess that's like whiny little white girl, right? Hi, I recognize that because I've been there, right? And there's a lot of watching her have to recognize that she's not the only one who has it kind of shitty. It's a good feel. It's a really, really good feel. It's a really fast story. It's not always action in the sense of like battles, but there's always something happening and some sort of challenge coming up. She's always getting into some sort of kerfuffle. I have nothing but good things to say about this particular book. I didn't realize it at the time, but there are two other books, which are Seraphina and Shadow Scale, and I think those follow her half-sister Seraphina, who is, of course, the half-dragon. And so I might eventually pick those up. I know there's going to be a sequel to this particular book, and I'm really looking forward to reading that as well. I think watching Tess grow and continue to grow is going to be a real fun and engaging story for me. You guys should let me know if you've read Tess of the Road or if you've read any other of the Lodestar nominees. I've been really, really pleased with the Lodestar nominees that I've read so far. I'm just so pleasantly surprised. You know, there's so many ways that people could have discredited or just kind of gone with run-of-the-mill stuff for the Lodestar nominees, and I found this book and some of the others to be just really pleasantly challenging. If you've read Tess of the Road or if you are reading through the Lodestar nominees, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the kind of dragon, not dragon, human dynamic that kind of goes on in this story. Side note for everybody who's already read it, Will is a big asshole and I hate him. Just throwing that out there. Real don't like that dude. You guys know the drill though. Go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe. Share the video. It's how the channel grows. And if you want to support me in other ways, you can head on over to my Patreon page. Patrons get to see videos early and do things like help me pick out my TBR for the month. You can also go ahead and support me totally for free in other ways by following me on Instagram and Twitter. My handle's Bree Reads Books. I'm pretty active over there for the most part. I hope you guys are having a fantastic reading week. I'll talk to you later.